Well, hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is the 30th of June. I'm Nadine Blaney. Well, easing tensions between the United States and Iran boosted investor sentiment, and technology stocks rebounded after recent weakness. Despite this, the ASX is set for a relatively flat opening, up a slight 0.03% or 3 points according to SPY Futures. U.S. markets, though, finished strongly higher, with the Dow Jones closing at a record high. The S&P 500 rose 1.2%, the Nasdaq up around 2%, with investors also positioning portfolios ahead of the second quarter earnings season. Here is a look at mega tech stocks. Alphabet advanced on its first trading day as a Dow component. In company news, Comcast surged after announcing plans to spin off NBC Universal and Sky into a separate listed company. SpaceX also climbed after confirmation it will join the Nasdaq 100 index from July the 7th. Top performers on the S&P included Corning, KLA, and Applied Materials. Bottom performers, Copart, Martin Marietta Materials on reports of a $13.5 billion merger with Elhoist, and Supermicro, which was down by 6% after the company's offices were raided in Taiwan. T-Mobile was hit as well, with those Comcast spin-off plans stoking fears of competition in U.S. telecoms. On the Nasdaq, Rocket Lab was up by 16% as it agreed to buy satellite communications provider Iridium Communications for a deal worth about $8 billion as the space narrative heats up. Strategy also was higher on the Nasdaq after it unveiled an overhaul of its model, including stock buybacks and Bitcoin sales. And in a sign of what's to come here, gold miners fell along with the price of gold. Newmont, Goldfields, and Anglo Ashanti bucking the trend there, up by 0.2%. Meanwhile, RBC Capital Markets lifted its 12-month S&P 500 target to 8,150, pointing to expectations for resilient earnings growth and a supportive macro backdrop. On the macro front, optimism improved after reports U.S. and Iranian officials will meet in Doha to implement an interim peace agreement, easing concerns over Middle East tensions and energy supply disruptions. There was no major economic data overnight, with markets instead focused on the peace talks, the ECB's Sintra Forum, where AI is very much on the agenda, and ahead of this week's key U.S. labor market data culminating in the non-farm payrolls report Friday, our time. The EU and China agreed to 3 months of talks to try to avoid a trade war over the bloc's mega annual trade deficit with Beijing. The two sides issued a joint statement covering 4 areas, including export controls on rare earths. Chinese exports to the bloc outweigh imports by €1 billion a day. 10-year Treasury yield finished at 4.37%, up around 1 basis point. The U.S. dollar was broadly steady against major currencies. The yen hit a 40-year low against the U.S. dollar, raising the specter for currency intervention from Tokyo yet again. On the commodities front, Brent crude finished around $72.60 US a barrel after briefly topping $73 a barrel. Prices were supported by lingering concerns over shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Gold slipped to around $4,020 an ounce as risk appetite improved. Aluminium prices hit a 4-month low as supply concerns fade on Middle East peace. Copper was flat, and iron ore remains below $100 per wet metric ton. Today, Collins Food reports its full year, and the RBA minutes are released. In the U.S., the first in a blockbuster week of jobs data is released with the May JOLTS job report. That does it for the day ahead. I'm Nadine Blaney. We'll see you tomorrow.